Hey guys, this is Frozen Take Studios here, and welcome back to another movie review. And today I'm gonna be reviewing the final Fast and Furious review in the marathon series I'm doing, leading up to Fast X. And as you can tell by now, this movie is the odd one out from all the reviews I've done. It's F9. So F9 is the ninth Fast and Furious movie, or 10th if you count Hobbs and Shaw, and is directed by Justin Lin in the once again back in the director's chair, and came out in the year 2021, and stars Vin Diesel, Michelle Rodriguez, Jordana Brewster, Tyrese Gibson, Ludacris, Nathalie Emmanuel, Charlize Theron, Sung Kang, Helen Mirren, Kurt Russell, Sean Black, and new additions from John Cena, Anna Sawai, and what was the other one? Okay, whatever. So basically, the plot for F9 tells a story of basically this crew who was trying to protect this weapon called Ares, this object weapon called Ares. I forget what it does exactly, but I know this mission was assigned by Mr. Nobody, who was not really physically present in this one. He was mostly just seen in the flashbacks, but he was attacked. He was attacked, and well, attacked, and sent a video message to the crew to retrieve the pieces of Ares, and not let it get in the hands of terrorists. And while they were in the mission, they to get the first piece of the Ares um project, they realized that the terrorist that they're actually looking for is Dom's long lost brother Jacob, who Dom has abandoned him for sabotaging his father's car, Jack Toretto. So Dom and Jacob get into a brother to brother conflict, and they must complete the mission to stop him, and to be able to retrieve the Ares project, and yeah, that's it. So yeah, F9 is where I don't know what to say, but F9 is said to be the biggest one yet, with probably some of the most bombastic action scenes, some of the most ridiculous things you'll ever see in the franchise. Um, see in the franchise, this movie kind of lived up to that saying that was gonna be the biggest. Although I felt like Furious 7 was felt bigger in scale. I mean F9 surely has some of the biggest action in the franchise. Actually, no, I take that back. Why is that about Furious 7? I think this is certainly the biggest Fast and Furious movie to date. Yeah. I mean, it's really so big in scale, and it really takes ridiculousness and absurdity to the next level. It was so absurd that that people could not actually take it. Yeah, people could not stand it, and they actually hate the absurdity and saying, "Oh, it's gone too far." And yes, this movie received so much backlash, so much hate from even Fast and Furious fans. Even people from even people who love this franchise absolutely despise this movie. Like John Cambia, he's a defender of this franchise, but he despises F9. Yeah, he's looking forward to this one, and it's really rare to find a positive review for a movie where someone says it's good. Um says it's good. Yeah. I remember seeing F9 a month earlier before the US release. Like I saw it in May 2021. Yes, as of now, it's actually been 2 years. It's been 2 years now since I saw this movie in theaters. When it comes to US release date, yeah, it comes out like this movie came out in my country 1 month earlier. So I got a chance to see this one. It also already got early reviews, and I remember I haven't forgotten when I saw this movie in theaters. It got a 33% Rotten Tomatoes, like somewhere around the 30s. Yeah, it was really destroyed by critics. Thankfully now the Rotten Tomatoes score is a little more, it is a little generous. It's currently at the 59%, which is kind of generous for the kind of reception this movie actually got with all the backlash, and some even a lot of them even going as far as calling it the worst Fast and Furious movie. Well, yeah. Have you seen Tokyo Drift? But I was never one of those haters of this movie. Like I always enjoyed this movie. ever since I first saw this movie theaters, I really enjoyed this movie. I personally find this movie to be a lot of fun. It still felt like a Fast and Furious movie, like what it wants to be. It's I mean, I love this franchise for its stupidity and its absurdity, and I really dig it. So yeah, and yeah, this movie is certainly a guilty pleasure. And after rewatching this film, rewatching this film a couple of times, and rewatching it as of now, I think this movie still holds up. Yeah, this movie was just added on Netflix like last week, I think, or last month, or recently, just right on time for Fast Six to come out. Yeah, I had to watch all the rest of the franchise online because they were not on any streaming service. This is the only Fast and Furious movie to actually be on streaming service. Like it's on my local Netflix and on HBO Max as well. But yeah, I still enjoy this movie, and I don't get the hate for this franchise. I mean, come on. I mean, this you watch these movies for the stupidity and absurdity. Like you really want to see this franchise be like more stupid than it was, and that's why you enjoy it. And then you suddenly just hate on this movie just because of how absurd it is. Like, isn't that what you come for the Fast and Furious movies for? So I really don't understand though why this movie was hated. Why this movie's hated. But to be fair, guys, I definitely think this movie is flawed. And this movie is certainly a step down from Hobbs and Shaw, which was, like what I said, one of the better films in the franchise, and probably the best in the franchise besides the peak era, 5, 6, and 7. Yeah, I call it the peak era because they are the best Fast and Furious movies. Hopefully, Fast X can be right on the same levels as those three. Yeah, I definitely have flaws with this one. Yeah, Cypher is probably my biggest issue with the film. Like I did not like Cypher that much. I thought she was just like don't get me wrong. I love Cypher in the eighth film. Yeah, I said I called her my favorite Fast and Furious villain, and I stand by that. But did she not? But why did she have to return to this movie? Like, what was the point of having a Cypher in this one? Like, yeah, Cypher was kind of pointless in this one. Yeah, Cypher. Yeah, really. Yeah, and she was just probably at her worst. Like, first of all, Cypher's haircut looks so stupid. Like, oh my goodness. Like, I mean, I really like Cypher with her normal long hair, but this one she got a haircut, and oh my god, it looks so ugly. Like, my god, it is like probably the ugliest makeup and hairstyling I have ever seen, but put into a character in a movie. Like, that is ugly. And not only is it ugly, but Cypher does nothing in this movie. So, yeah, she was such a big threat. Like, I don't know why she needed to return. Oh, I guess because in the last film she escaped and she wasn't defeated. So of course she'd do this. But um, all she did is just sit around in this glass very I don't know how you describe it, but it's like a prison or something, like glass thingy, or whatever you wanna call it, whatever you wanna call it, or I don't know. But all Cypher did was just, and Cypher literally like made Star Wars jokes with this guy named Otto. Like they're like making Star Wars references, like Otto's like, I'm Luke Skywalker, and like, oh really, are you really Luke Skywalker? Like, and then Otto like insists that he's actually the hero. And by the way, speaking of Otto, oh my goodness, he is a dreadful villain. Like, one of the worst villains in the franchise. In fact, I could argue he could be the worst villain, Fast and Furious villain. But I don't think about that because, like, yeah, maybe he is the worst Fast and Furious villain because I mean, as much as I hate the villains in Too Fast Too Furious, as forgettable as the villain Too Furious is, and annoying the villain was in Tokyo Drift. Never has a villain annoying me as much as Otto. Ugh, like his dialogues, like him calling saying he's Luke Skywalker, and don't get me started on his dialogue. Like, oh, I'm sorry, spoiled rich brats rule the world. Like, what? Like, I mean, he's so stupid. Like, Like, why did he even need to be his film? Because I mean, this movie need. I guess because this movie needed the straight villain. Because obviously Jacob Toretto is a quote unquote redeemable villain. Which, but yeah, I knew that he was gonna redeem himself. Like going to this movie, I was like, yeah, Jacob was gonna redeem himself because there's no way this gonna. He's gonna straight up kill the off, and especially the history with the previous Fast and Furious villains, where they're like villains and they're constantly they constantly redeem themselves. I mean, we got that for Luke Hobbs, Deckard Shaw, I mean some others, even Dom. He was kind of an antagonist in the first film, kind of an antagonist, but then now he's the franchise's a main character. Um, so yeah, it's no surprise that Jacob would be a kind of redeemable kind of villain. Yeah, I hate Otto. What else is there? Oh yeah, Roman Pierce. I hated Roman Pierce. I think he's the worst. I mean, as much as Otto is the worst villain in the franchise, my least favorite villain. Thankfully, he's not the worst character in this movie because oh my god, Roman is so annoying. Like, I know like Roman is supposed to be funny, and I know I always liked his comedy time before, but in this movie he became the Jar Jar Binks of the franchise. Like he's like Jar Jar Binks now, like always screaming, always like being annoying and um, being annoying and yeah, I can't stand him. I mean, like all he does is just scream throughout, and he never shuts up. He's just like he's really infuriating, and yeah, he's literally become the Jar Jar Binks of this franchise. His jokes are not funny, and although the only thing I like about him is that he's actually the reason why this franchise is self aware like of the of like all the impossible and ridiculous things that these characters can do. I mean, Roman Pierce is the one who points it out. I was like, he's like why are we always doing this ridiculous stuff? But in this one, like, yeah, he's kind of annoying. Like especially the jungle chasing whatever that was. Like always screaming and talking too much. Like he has like a kid in this movie. My God, he has like a 10-year-old kid. So yeah, but besides those three characters, Cypher, Otto, and Roman Pierce, I think everything else in this movie, like, it's not really a negative to me. Like oh yeah, there's one flaw I forgot to mention, and I definitely need to point this out. And I think that was probably the worst moment in its franchise, entire franchise, the Cardi B cameo. Oh boy, yeah, the Cardi B cameo. Is so dumb. Like, why would they throw in Cardi B in there, the worst rapper ever? Like, that was not only the worst scene. That cameo is not only the worst scene in the film, but the worst scene in the entire franchise. So yeah, I guess that's all for my flaws. But besides all these things, I think I'm gonna talk about the good things now. Yeah, I mean, this movie's a lot of fun. It's really entertaining. Not as entertaining as Fate of the Furious or some of the previous ones. Yeah, I honestly enjoyed the Fate of the Furious more than this one. Yeah, I mean, even if Fate of the Furious has the dumbest plot in dumbest storyline in the entire franchise, um, I think that one was far more entertaining. Yeah, this one, um, I'll admit I did feel the runtime, which I wouldn't really consider that a flaw. I think that was just a nitpick. I did feel the runtime in this movie, but yeah. So yeah, let's talk about everything else in this movie. Yeah, this movie's really entertaining. Yeah, this is, yeah yeah. The action in this movie is really really strong. Yeah, I think it's the action is clearly the highlight of this film. There's like so much action, and when they say it is the biggest Fast and Furious movie, like the biggest in scale. I mean, they really do mean it. I mean, they literally go like push all the limits, like of this franchise, and literally take the ridiculousness and the absurdity to the next level. Now we're getting cars swinging like Tarzan, and then and then we get this we get magnet cars, like cars with magnets, and literally pulling so many things from the city, like and causing destruction, and they would even like have make police, like dozens of police cars flip over, and they even use their magnets to make a truck, a super long truck, flip over like that, and we got Jet Rocket like that, and of course, let's not forget the infamous scene, the infamous scene. Yeah, that space scene when Roman and Tej go to space. Go to space. Yeah. That scene right there is really like really fun. Like, and that was actually something where fans actually asked for. Like, they literally pulled it off. Like, this is actually a movie that this is actually a thing that people meme that they're like, what if they take the Fast and Furious franchise to space? What if they make the characters go to space? And they actually did it. Now, a lot of people seem to have a problem with that. Like, I hear people say that scene was where the franchise crosses the line. I personally don't think so. I think this franchise, I think the franchise does not cross a line with space, in my opinion. I mean, I was okay with it. Because let's be real. I mean, people should be used already to the fact that this franchise can be stupid, and can go beyond that. And but F9 is the same thing. I mean, no, it's not a problem because let's be real. I never get bored inside of these movies. I always want to see a ridiculous, stupid movie that goes over the top. I'd rather see those. I'd rather see a dumb but entertaining Fast and Furious movie than one that tries to be quote unquote smart but boring. Cough cough. Tokyo Drift. And yeah. What else is there? Yeah. So I'm definitely okay with the space scene. I really like how ridiculous is it. But yeah, the action scenes in this movie, they're really energetic and so entertaining. My favorite scene in this movie, personally, has to be the scene with has to be the Tokyo scene in Han's apartment. Like, with Letty and Mia going to Han's apartment and then meeting and then coming across Elle, Han's adopted daughter. And I gotta say about Elle, well, I'll talk about characters just shortly after I talk about some of the action scenes, but I'm gonna say straight up say this right now. Elle is the MVP of this movie. She is the standout of this movie. And she's actually my top three favorite characters. As a franchise character, I personally prefer Letty over Elle, and Giselle will always take the Giselle is the number one spot, but I would put Elle in my top three. I mean, I really love her. She's such a badass, especially in that Tokyo in that apartment scene. Like, she kicks so much ass there. I really enjoy her. She's really strong. Like, she's really powerful, and we definitely need a spin off of her. Definitely need a spin off of her. Like, I remember I said in my House and Shaw review that I wanted a Han and Fast and Furious presents Han and Giselle. Um, yeah, that could happen, but at the same time, I also want a Fast and Furious presents a Han and Elle movie. Like, I mean, I don't know what they could pull off with a Han and Giselle movie, but a Han and Elle movie would actually fit really well. Like, taking place between the events of the previous Fast and Furious movies before F9, and seeing, like, their lives together and fighting crime, and having their own mission, like a father and adopted daughter kind of storyline. Think about how cool that idea would have been. So yeah, we definitely need more L in this franchise. And I know this movie, they never marketed L, so it's not really a surprise to see Elle in this one. I mean, it's kind of a surprise, but I mean, they never really marketed her. Like, in the first trailer, when they show this female character shooting a gun from a truck. Like, I forgot you called it, but I literally thought that was Letty, but turns out it was Elle, like the new character, and she's definitely the best of the newcomers here. And yeah, yeah, there's some really great action in this one, and also the characters are, for the most part, are really good. Well, with the exception of the ones I didn't mention, Dom, Dom, how do I say this? Dom, Letty, I mean, I also love Letty in this. In fact, I think Letty's haircut might be my favorite haircut from her. It's not too short where she looked ugly on like Cypher, but I mean, I feel like it's just right. for her. And Mia's return. I'm glad to see Mia return, like after being absent in Fast in the eighth film. And Mia's there. Jacob is a great villain, one of the better Fast and Furious villains in my opinion. I mean, no, he's not as good as Cypher, not as good as Deckard Shaw, not as good as Luke Hobbs, but I mean, there are better Fast and Furious villains, but I would say he's the weakest of the good Fast and Furious villains. Oh wait, no, that goes to the Fast Four villain. But among the great villains, like those I think who are great, Jacob is probably the weakest of them all. But yeah, he's still a really good villain. And John Cena's, I mean, I enjoyed seeing John Cena's acting. The flashback scene between Dom and the flashback scene between Dom and, and Jacob, they're really good. And I know, like, last time, like, I've been complaining throughout that, that the family message made no sense here, since Dom keeps saying, don't turn your back on family, but he literally turned his back on his own brother, and literally tried to forget that his brother ever existed until the ninth film. So it, it, it may have sounded like a thrown in plot point, but after watching this movie, rewatching this movie, I'm paying a little more attention. I think the Dom and Jacob thing, I think that plot line makes a lot more sense now. It makes sense. It makes sense now as to why Dom turned his back on Jacob for years, like, for many years, and made his own family. It's because of how, Jacob sabotaged um their their um their father's car, and causing the father to die, to crash and die. So yeah, don't believe that Jacob was trying to kill the father on purpose. Now we don't know if it was actually an accident, a mistake, or is done on purpose. But I think it was a sabotage. I mean, if but what intentions did Jacob have one with that in sabotaging his cars just so he can get killed? But I want to know. But that's not really a flaw anyway, because I can like simply ignore that. I can simply ignore that. What else is there to say? Okay, I'm missing something. Oh yeah, how's the plot, by the way? Before I want to talk about Han. I think Han is one of the fan favorite Fast and Furious characters, and I think I really enjoyed him in this one. I mean, he's still the likable Han that we remembered. But okay, how is the plot? Honestly, the plot is not bad at all. I think it's decent. I mean, again, I mean, it's a thin plot. I mean, we shouldn't expect much from the plot in this one, but I think it feels a lot more straightforward. I mean, I like that this plot is straightforward. Yes, it is thin, but at least it's not too convoluted. It feels straightforward. And although there was one plot point I found that was messy, and that's another flaw with the movie. How did Han how is Han alive? Yeah, I've always tried to remember that. I mean, I tried to understand it, but honestly, it never really clicked with me. I mean, it was so confusing. Now, it was nice. It's nice to see Han back from the dead, but the way they explained how Han was alive was so convoluted. Yeah, it was explained in such a messy way. But besides that, there was nothing else messy about the plot. That was probably the only complaint I have with the plot. Well, besides it being thin, they could have like probably made Han's backstory make more sense. But again, this movie it's meant to be stupid, so I'd say that is a nitpick, more of a nitpick than a major flaw with the movie. Yeah. So overall, F9 is probably the most underrated and overhated film in the Fast and Furious saga. I mean, yeah, sure, the movie does have a lot of flaws, and it's not as good as 5, 6, 7, and 8. Better than 4, though, I will say. It's better than 1 to 4, I will say. But I mean, actually, the movie has a lot of flaws, like, Cypher being useless in this one. Like, why did we need Cypher in this one? Otto is one of the worst Fast and Furious villains. Maybe Otto is my least favorite Fast and Furious villain. And and Roman and they turned Roman into the Jar Jar Binks of Fast and Furious. And also Han's backstory, the reasons as to why Han is alive, would should have made a little more sense. Although I can 50% forgive that since this movie is meant to like not make sense. This franchise, that's what this franchise is for. It really makes no sense and it's self aware of it. But this movie is really fun. It's definitely a guilty pleasure. Like I can rewatch this movie as much as I want to and turn my brain off. This is definitely a turn your brain off movie. It's stupid. It's dumb. It's the most ridiculous in the franchise. I mean, you literally got this like two characters going into space, which is probably the dumbest you could go for this franchise. But this movie is still self aware that this movie is dumb, but it just wants to like push the limits to entertain us. That's what this movie does. Same as this franchise, it entertains and this movie did not make me give up on the franchise. I don't think this movie made the franchise lose its steam. It's still really enjoyable. It's still a really enjoyable movie, and also I enjoyed the 80% of the characters. Jacob Toretto is a much better villain than people make it out to be. All the characters we know and love, the old characters are really are just as likable as they were. I think the reasons to why Dom abandoned Jacob made sense now on this rewatch. It made a bit more sense now on this rewatch. And Ellie, and we definitely need more Ellie in this franchise. I know like we're gonna see her again in Fast X. I know she was not marketed in any of the trailers, but let's be real here. She was not marketed in this at all. But I love Ellie. Ellie is probably my comfort character when it comes to this franchise. Well, Giselle's technically my real comfort character, but Ellie could be one of them. She was the real standout in this movie. And we need that Fast and Furious presents Han and Elle movie. And so yeah, it's a really nice experience. Definitely not a well made film, but but I think it's a really good experience to watch this movie, to enjoy the stupidity of it and just have fun. Don't they? This movie is not meant to be taken seriously. I seriously don't know why people take this movie way too seriously. And not only do some people call it the worst in the franchise, but some even go as far as calling it the worst movie of its respective year, 2021. Well, I take fun movies like this any day over quote unquote fun movies with toilet and childish humor in baby movies. So with that said, I'm gonna give F9 an 8 out of 10, a very low 8 out of 10. Low 8 out of 10, but 8 out of 10 is still a really good score for a movie like this. For this underrated gem. So also for my review of F9, what is your opinion of this movie? Do you agree with me that this is the most underrated and overhated installment in the Fast and Furious franchise? Or are you with the people who hate this movie and say it's the worst in the franchise? Comment down below, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and stay tuned for my review of Fast X. I can't wait to review the film, coming tomorrow. And maybe a trailer reaction if I feel like it. So yeah, but whatever. Bye, guys.